Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday evening call. This is the call where we give a little bit, it's an overview of Lifewave as a company, a little bit about our technology. We talk about the star of our show, which is the X39 patch, our stem cell activation patch that does a lot more. And we have a special guest this evening. It's Dr. Shauna Young, and we'll be bringing her on in just a few minutes. And then after we talk about that, then it's your turn to share your stories, your testimonials, and also if you have questions, you can write your questions in the chat section. And this is a very special evening because Dr. Shauna has been with us pretty much consistently for a year and a half every Tuesday night. And we just recently started incorporating some other doctors. And so we're making room for some new doctors to show up. But if you want to show your appreciation to Dr. Shauna, write a message in the chat, that would be wonderful, what you appreciate about her, and thank her for all of her grateful service. Just so you know that all the doctors that are on this program do this volunteer. And I will put Dr. Shauna's phone number into the chat section. So if you are interested in making an appointment to talk about Lifewave, she has a fee of $75 for a half hour for Lifewave people. That's a special price. And if you want special attention around Lifewave with the patches, she is masterful. So yes, we are grateful to Dr. Shauna, aren't we? So let me get started here. Lifewave is a very special company, and about 2 years ago, I was introduced because I had some knee challenges, and a friend knew I was investigating stem cells as part of my support, and I was willing to pay out of pocket for an injection of $12,500 with no guarantee. And then he called me and he said, this was our friend Kai Jacobson, and he said, there's a new technology. It's historic. It uses light and activates your own younger stem cells. And I went, how fast can I get it? And when I got the patches, I started as a customer, put the patch, which looks like this. Whoops, sorry about that, on what's called C7. And a week later, the pain in my knee went away. It was like magic. And I started sharing, and the rest is history, but lots of other wonderful things happen. I'll share a little bit more later. But the company itself has been around for 16 years. It was founded in 2004 by David Schmidt, our founder and CEO and scientist inventor. And he had created some technology on a government contract to support the Navy SEALs for survival and how to stay awake in mini subs without using any chemicals, stimulants, or drugs. And then 9/11 happened. The government had different priorities. And someone spoke to David saying the best way to actually bring something that is so cutting edge to market is through the distribution center of network marketing, relationship marketing, multi-level marketing. We are very proud to be in this company at this unique time in history. And David created this patch called the Energy Enhancer. And that was phase one of the company, where David created kind of symptom-based patches. And that patch actually activates 500 calories of your own body fat that turn into energy. Well, it turned out that people were discovering that it had some tremendous benefits for an athletic performance. And one day, Richard Quick, who was the Olympic swim coach for the women's team in the US, who was based out of Stanford, he called David Schmidt and said, 6 out of the 8 of my swimmers had their personal best when they used the patch. And he caught the athletic world by storm, and people started seeing these little patches all over these swimmers' bodies, and they say, doping, doping. And so they started to do testing and realized nothing goes in the body. They're non-transdermal. And so they were safe. And now if you go to lifewave.com and go down to the newsroom in the very bottom in the black section, you'll notice all kinds of news releases. They are kind of dated, and they are getting some updated ones very soon, we hear. So that'll be wonderful. But athletes all over the world depend on these and love them. It's their secret weapon. So in phase one, David noticed that there was some actual pain relief benefits from that patch. And he tweaked the formula a little bit and created the Icewave patch, which is our pain patch. And yes, we can use the word pain as a natural products company because we have double-blind studies from independent labs that prove the vast majority of people have actually instant or rapid pain relief from this patch. And then after that was born Silent Night, which actually helps your body create its own melatonin and use for sleep. And there's lots of reasons people don't have a easy night sleeping, and one of them is melatonin. And I'm not going to get into talking about the others right now, but do reach out to whoever invited you to this call to get more information. Phase 1. Phase 2, David was into anti-aging, and he's always been an advocate and focused on this magnificent body and how to have it perform even better. And so the YH trio was born of carnosine, eon, and glutathione, and to actually put the brakes on the aging process and help our cells regenerate. Well, the last 10 years, David has been researching the next phase of the company, which is called the regenerative phase. And that's what we're here to talk about tonight. We're not just stopping the aging process, we are actually turning it back, which is very exciting. So if you're brand new to this call, we're going to talk a little bit about the technology and this breakthrough that we have in regenerative science. And I want to talk a little bit about David Schmidt before I bring Dr. Shauna on. David is amazing. I mean, it's very rare that you have a scientist that's also a great business person. And the company Lifewave is in over 75 countries around the world. And I will say some of the videos say 100, and we used to be in over 100, but sadly, the COVID situation has actually made it difficult to get products to certain places around the world. So they had to scale back a bit because we weren't able to care for people. So we're in Africa, we're in Asia, we're in Europe, we're in Australia, New Zealand, the US, North America, Mexico, Canada. We're starting to ease into South America, but it's really, really exciting that we're all over the world and have 14 distribution centers to serve people all over the world. And it's seamless to be able to take care of people. Well, he's also this great inventor and has over 100 patents and patent pendings to his name. I was on a call with him the other day, and he shared a new one that was very exciting. So he's constantly inspired by what's next to support these bodies and transforming our experience of the aging process and helping us give our bodies what they need to do, what they're designed to do, which is come back to a state of homeostasis. David has committed millions and millions of dollars into research. We have over 80 clinical studies. There's many more in process. And if you go to lifewave.com and scroll down a little bit, you'll find the clinicals that are published and available. The most recent one that was published is very exciting for people like me. I tell people I'm 97. Actually, I'll be 67. No, is that it? Yeah, in a few months. And this study actually has validated that the longer people use the X39 patch, the greater their cognitive function is. Because a lot of people have a concern about cognitive decline, not just physical decline, but cognitive decline as they age. So what I want to do is bring on my guest, my friend. We call each other sisters from another mister. And this woman is a very, very gifted naturopath. She's an author of 2 books. She has a clinic in Boise, Idaho, Assertive Wellness, has worked with people in every state in this country and people from around the world. She is a brilliant diagnostician. She's become a very, very very special friend in my life and a very valuable resource when Gregory and I were going through some serious health challenges that Gregory had earlier this year. And I just have learned so much from her. And like I said earlier, this is her last time on our regular rotation. She will come back as a special guest. So we are here to share our gratitude with her also. But Dr. Shauna, come on board and show there you are. Hey,
Hello.
hi. I'm always so glad to see you.
Oh, I just barely made it tonight. So
You were doing something really important, so we're
yeah,
really, really
had to
glad to
come
have
flying
you.
back then. So yeah. So hello,
So
everybody.
we'd love you to explain the technology behind these patches because nothing goes in the body. It looks like a Band-Aid about the size of a quarter. You put
Mhm.
it here and it goes everywhere. It's a scientific term called photobiomodulation. And if you could explain that, and then, well, you know what? I want to rewind. Before we get into that, I'd love you to share why you got into Lifewave as a healthcare practitioner, as a doctor. Why did you choose to really incorporate the Lifewave products into your practice? What excited you?
Well, one of the things that really excited me originally too was the photobiomodulation part, because anytime that you put any kind of substance into a person, you run the risk of creating some kind of reaction, an adverse reaction, an allergy, or something like that. And that could be something as minor as the gel cap that a supplement is put in. I've seen people be allergic to the writing that was on their pills. I mean, there's like a million things. So anytime you take a substance, even if it's a natural substance, and you put it into somebody, then you're running risk. So the LifeWave system, the photobiomodulation, really appeals to me because your body is doing all of the work. The patches do not have anything on them. One of the best ways to think about it is when you're looking at the patch and you look at the little beige, or a little white, whatever color it is on the patch, different ones in the middle, is to think of that as a computer chip. Like that's the chip that David Schmidt has figured out how to program so that it creates the desired response in your body. And don't think of it as medication, because it isn't. There's nothing on the patch. There's nothing coming into the body. It's just a particular light pattern and frequency pattern that is creating a particular desired response in your body. And a lot of people too, I want to point out, they think of frequency, they hear the word frequency, and they think, ooh, that's very woo or whatever. But the easiest way to think of it is your body without frequency, your body is just atoms flying around. We're actually not corporeal beings. We're just atoms until you take the frequency that holds your body into a shape and into the position. Like a friend of mine always says, we're just cucumbers with depression without a frequency to hold us all together. So a big thing in this was that I knew that I could use these patches with anything I was using, certainly, but also a lot of people that come to see me have very complicated medical situations going on, and they're taking a variety of drugs. Most people are taking somewhere between 3 to 6, but I've seen people taking up to 22, 23, 24 different prescription medications. So when you're working with something like that, you're definitely walking on the eggshells on top of the eggshells when you're trying to work your way through that minefield with that person. So when I've got something like the phase 1 and phase 2 patches that I can use, that I know I can use to create a certain symptom situation, then we've got something good. But when you take the X39, and this is something that works, it makes everything else that you do work better. Because what causes us to get older and to have our cells not bouncing back as quickly is that we lose stem cells. When we're babies, we have literally 1 billion stem cells, I mean, literally. And then as time goes on, we lose less and less and less and less of them. And by the time you get to be an adult, you've lost most of your stem cells. And by the time you get into your 50s or 60s, you lost about 70% of your stem cells. So that's why when you're working with an older person, things take longer. You don't bounce back like you used to, all of those things. So when you put something like this on someone that creates more stem cells, then you're creating a younger patient for yourself. And that is obviously going to make it easier to work with right off the bat. But almost everything I do works with frequencies. So this was something I was really familiar with anyway. And to be able to take something that you can just go, like that, instead of having to hook yourself up to and do things like that is pretty amazing. So when I first heard about Lifewave, it was immediately really exciting to me.
Wow. So you answered several questions at once. So
Yep.
I love it. You explained photobiomodulation of how the patches work, and you compared it to something very familiar. And I love that our bodies are held together with frequencies. And sometimes it would be fun if we could rearrange some of those.
Can we change, just
I'm going to
shift?
talk to you about that later, okay? And you also said the older we get, the faster we age, the slower we heal because we have less stem cells. So by having more stem cells, we can actually turn back the clock. So how about if you explain about the X39? Why is it so special? Why is it actually historic?
Well, if you read a lot of studies, if you do a internet search for GHKCU, or GHK copper peptide, which is what the patch is, the programmed, what the computer chip part of the patch is programmed to create. If you do a Google search on that, you'll find just every, PubMed, NCBI, like everything in the world, they're all talking about the need for this GHK copper peptide and all the amazing things that it's able to do, because it can do things nothing else can do. It can change gene expression. It can upgrade and downgrade on inflammation at the same time. It's one of these miracle things. But the question was, how do you get it into your body? Because everybody knows it's wonderful, but you can't like take it. Or, I mean, there's lots of things like that. Glutathione is a great example as well. Glutathione is your body's master antioxidant. It's a fantastic thing to have. But if you take a glutathione supplement, then your body recognizes it as food instead of as an antioxidant. But when you're wearing the patch and your body creates the glutathione, then it recognizes it and it's able to use it in the best way possible. And so with the X39, the easiest way with photobiomodulation to understand is it's all in the two frequencies that are hooking up together. And it's the same as the sun hitting your skin and you create vitamin D. There's no vitamin D in the sun, there's none in your skin, but when the two frequencies hook up, then and it creates the miracle, it creates vitamin D. And conversely, if the sun hits your skin at a different frequency, then you'd produce melanin, and that gives you a suntan. So same sun, same skin, but two very different things. So what the X39 is able to do is it reaches in and addresses that issue that you can see in hundreds of studies of saying, well, how do we get GHK copper? How do we get this? Because when you get that particular peptide going in your body, then that is what creates the stem cells. And the stem cells are the tinker toys of your body. They don't have a specific, there are stem cells that are brain cells or that are blood cells or something, but most stem cells are just cells, and they're created and they sit there, and then they say, well, what do we need? And your body says, well, we need a liver cell. So that stem cell becomes a liver cell, and off it goes. And so this is a way of allowing your body to really do the triage part, to really do the heavy lifting part of being able to figure out what it is that you need. Because with the X39, you don't have to figure out what it is that you need. You can just put it on there, and your stem cells in your body's innate wisdom, the beauty, the magic of the human body will decide what it needs, and it goes to work on that.
I love it. I love that you call it Tinker Toys. And you mentioned the copper peptide, and you also mentioned researching it. So we recommend everyone write this down, GHK-CU, and do your own research. If you're familiar with using PubMed.gov, go there, but use your favorite search engine, because at Lifewave, we will only talk about the things that we have clinical proof on, like Dr. Shauna mentioned. It's the altering of gene expression of over 4,000 genes to a younger you, accelerated wound healing, increasing the copper peptide, activating your own younger stem cells, and actually even creating more stem cells from your skin, because when we're older, that we don't have that many left. And this is what keeps us young.
Regulating good cells and down-regulating bad cells simultaneously.
Which is brilliant. It's totally brilliant. So if someone is new to X39, what do you recommend for them to get the maximum benefit of using the X39 patch?
You know what, that's something I'm glad you asked, because I wanted to ask about kind of addressing that anyway. Again, I've talked about it a lot, but I want to make sure that it's really uppermost in people's minds, because what I do generally with my people when I'm recommending X39 is I tell them to wear it for about 90 days. If somebody is in acute pain and they need an ice wave or they need something like that, then fine. But I really don't recommend tinkering around with the patches too much up until the first 90 days. If you wear the X39 consistently the way you're supposed to, 12 hours on, 12 hours off, consistently for 90 days, then it's going to give your body a step stool up. You know, that's going to create a better foundation for all the work that we're going to do. And I relate this all the time to building a house. You know, if you want to build a nice house, you don't just start throwing wood up, you know, on an empty lot. You have to dig a foundation. You have to, you know, create this wonderful base. And then once you do, then you get a stable house. And so I really, 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 really recommend that people wear the X39 for a good 90 days. And then a lot of times you don't even need the other patches after that. Or a lot of times too with the X39, it can help you and or your healthcare practitioner focus on what really needs to be done. Because a lot of times what you think is most important, your body doesn't necessarily agree. You know, sometimes your body wants to work on something else first. And so I have found that a lot of times with people, we found underlying situations that we want to work with based upon the first 90 days with the X39. But there's no downside to having more stem cells. There's no downside to having a younger self, your own, you know, yourself to be able to work with. So the X39, whenever anybody says, well, what patch do you use for this? First of all, the X39, and then after that, this. And I work with all of them, you know, so I work with all of them in all different ways. But the X39 is always the underlying one that I suggest everybody get with and stay with. Somebody asked me, they said, well, how long are you going to wear the patch? And I said, you mean today? And they're like, no, I mean, how long are you going to wear it? And I said, forever. You know, I mean,
Until David comes up with something better.
you know, why would I stop doing this? You know what I mean? I don't see any point in not wanting, oh, I don't know, I don't want more stem cells. I don't want to be younger. I don't want to heal better. I don't want less inflammation in my body. Said no one ever. So.
So what you said, I think is really important, is that the X39 creates the foundation. I think you call it the terrain, so that, you know, your body is in its best place to take advantage of anything else
Right.
first. Which,
Yep.
and sometimes people notice things right away, sometimes they don't, and sometimes they may notice some discomfort. So could you just briefly address that, and then we'll get to some questions?
Mhm. I was one of the people that I didn't really notice anything particular, you know, with it until kind of time went on. And then I noticed that things were changing. For one thing, about 6 months in, people started kind of politely asking me if maybe I had some kind of cosmetic surgery or something, which of course I knew I hadn't because I'm naturopath, but you know, they wanted to know I was doing. And I, of course, had not noticed that. You know, you look at yourself in the mirror every day, but it was subtle for me. For some people, you know, they have what Robin and I like to call the big bang, where, you know, they put it on and, you know, boom, it's like they notice all these enormous changes. And I think that's wonderful when that happens for people. But my expectation is more that there are subtleties around it. And even as Robin mentioned, some people do have some discomfort. Now, I want to really be specific in this and tell you that I have very rarely seen that. Every once in a while, when you've got somebody that's in a real toxic situation or a very painful situation or something like that, you will find somebody that has some discomfort at first with wearing it. Some people too, it's more of a neurological shift in your, I could go on about this for a million years, but in your brain, you form neurological webs. And when you get into a pain pattern, like some kind of chronic pain situation or chronic fatigue situation, your brain has formed a neural net around that pain. And so when you're in pain once in a while, then it separates. But when it's all the time, your neural net's like, why bother? And it just stays connected. So when you first get in with the X39, sometimes having that change take place of the neural nets starting to dissipate will cause you, it's almost like it's neurological to where you can feel it in your body, but it's almost more emotional in a lot of ways too, where something's going on and you don't really know what it is. A friend of mine that works with this constantly puts it very simply. I said, why would somebody, if it's good change, why would it bother anybody? And he said, because change is hard. And that's whether it's good change or bad change, you could notice things like that. There is also what's called retracing that happens sometimes, although that usually happens a little further down the line. It's not in the beginning, where let's say that you broke your wrist many years ago and it was repaired, you had the cast or you had surgery or you had whatever it needed to get that wrist repaired, and it seems to be repaired and you're using it just fine, but it's not perfect. And so a lot of times what will happen with the X39 is once it takes care of the big stuff, it starts running around looking for other stuff to do. It starts wet mopping, basically, looking for any place there might be some dust. And so it might go back and actually retrace where that break was just to try and make it more perfect. And that sometimes you'll feel. And I think that people feel retracing more than the beginning. But I have noticed that in the beginning, a lot of times when people are having difficulties, it is sometimes just because it's kind of an emotional shakeup that's happening simply because those neural nets are starting to separate in your brain. And it's kind of like, somebody that's starving to death, if you give them a, filet mignon, it might make them sick. It's good, it's great food, but it's just not something that they're used to. And so it's anytime you make change, you run the risk of something different. But at least we know it's going to be something good different.
Okay. So we got a bunch of questions and we're getting close to our half-hour mark. So we're going to go through these kind of quickly. And is it okay with you if we stay on a little bit after?
Sure.
That's okay.
Yep.
So if you have a testimonial and you want to share, please write that in the chat. We love hearing your stories. And if you have a question, put it in the chat. And remember that we talk symptoms only. We're not here to diagnose, prescribe. If you have a health condition, please reach out to your practitioner. But we are here to talk about the patches. So Deb says, my daughter has a bright red bump on her right eyelid. It's been there for several weeks. Any suggestions about how to patch it?
Glutathione. I would, anytime you've got anything red or bumpy, that's going to be my go-to patch. It sounds like something on her eyelid could be, you might want to look into, make sure she doesn't have anything infected in there, like an eyelash that's turned in or anything like that. But I would definitely start patching glutathione. Try it on your right temple to start with, the one that's closest to the eye, and see where you go from there. But that would definitely be where I would start.
Okay.
The glutathione is pretty wild. I stepped on a piece of glass the other night and put a glutathione patch on it, and it's incredible what that thing does.
It's powerful. I love it. Okay. Anne is asking, does using an actual frequency therapy help the patches or vice versa, such as a TENS or microcurrent unit?
Oh yeah, those are great. There's no contraindication on that at all. As I said, the X39 is repairing the frequency patterns in your body, so it's going to make any of those devices more effective.
Okay. And Dr. Lou actually says she'd love to share her experience. The rash from the patch is common. I don't think that person had a rash, but anyway, we can change the sticky part to a bandage type of material. Anyway, we can change the sticky part to a bandage type of material. So, there's very few people that are sensitive. Yeah. It is hypoallergenic adhesive, but the beauty is you don't need to touch your body with the patches, which is wonderful.
Just going to say that, just put it on over the top, or don't take the sticky part off. Just put it on with a piece of medical grade tape. Without taking the sticky off. My dog wears one on her collar and it's not touching her skin. She's got fur. The patches heat activate, so they activate really if they're even a couple inches away from your body.
Okay, I've got another question, but I do want to say, Michelle says, I'm so happy you're here for one more Tuesday evening call, Dr. Shauna. You're such a bright, articulate, and witty doctor. You make learning so much fun. Thank you for all your
Oh,
service over the past year and a half. So I just
that's
want you
great.
to
Thank you.
I want you to hear that. And Mary Rudy says, Dr. Shauna, thank you for all the webinars. I've learned so much from you. So Sarah has a few questions. She says, what does Dr. Shauna have to recommend for a very flared up situation all up the leg of an athlete?
Oh, okay. Sometimes ice waves will do it by themselves. And the way that I always patch ice waves is I tell the person to go to the source of where their pain is and poke around hard with their finger until they say ouch. I mean, like poke. And then when you go, ah, then that's where you put the tan patch, tan target, white, right. Okay, so put the tan target patch down when you say ouch, and then you're going to move the white patch around without taking the sticky off of it. Move it around until the pain either shuts down, a lot of times shuts down completely, or will at least come down in severity. Now, if you're working with somebody and they say that's about 60% better, keep trying, because you might get a little better than that. You know, sometimes that's all you're going to get, but keep trying. But make sure you do the poke until it says ouch part. Okay. Now, the other thing you can do if that does not work, which it doesn't sometimes, is I sometimes use an Eon patch. The Eon are technically the anti-inflammatories. And I sometimes use an Eon as a target patch along with the ice waves. So like, let's say that this pain is coming up the back of this person's leg, and like kind of like sciatic nerve type area coming down like that. So what I might do is do the poke thing at the source of the pain with the Eon, and use the Eon, and then use the other two patches of moving to a secondary spot where it's like it's radiating from the top of my thigh to the bottom of my ankle. So I put the Eon at the top of the thigh and the target patch down on the ankle, and then move the white one and see if I can't get it shut off. Sometimes I call it anchoring. It's not a technical term, it's just my word. I'll take an Eon, and I sometimes it feels like I can anchor the pain. And then I did this on our dear friend Judy one time, where I just anchored where the pain was radiating from, and then was able to use the ice waves to find the shutoff spots.
Okay, and it takes sometimes a little playing with it, and I love what Dr. Nicholas says. He says trust your instincts too,
Yeah.
because you can't hurt yourself.
How do you think I came up with the Eon? I mean, that was just something that I thought, oh, I'm going to try this.
Oh, I know. And I remember calling you one night screaming and crying because I had a leg cramp, and it was right before a show, and I went, help. And you said, Ian, put it right on the cramp spot, and boom, handled. So
Yep.
before X39, Ian was the star of the show, and it does many things. Oh my gosh, we got a whole bunch more here. So is it normal for someone for someone in extreme pain in the upper back not to experience any release of pain by using X39 and together with IceWave?
No, that's not real common. If, for one thing, if it's in the upper back part, kind of like where I would call it the bra line for a woman, where that's up in that area, that's a liver trigger. So a lot of times people think they're having back pain, but actually it's coming from their liver. So if you are using ice waves and X39 on a person and it's not making any difference, then I'm thinking liver. I'm thinking there's something else going on in that particular. It's called referred pain, and liver pain and gallbladder pain and stuff like that. A lot of people walk around going to the chiropractor when actually they've got kidney issues, because the kidney causes that low back pain. So if it's not shutting down, then I would say, maybe you don't have the ice waves in the right place. If you've tried the poke thing to see if you can get it to come down, but if that doesn't happen, then I'd say it's not back pain, it's referred pain.
And I think it's important for everyone to know that X39 was not designed as a pain patch.
No.
It does have anti-inflammatory benefits, so sometimes people get pain relief, but
Mhm.
there are 4 patches that actually help with pain. So we're not going to get into details tonight, but know that um, there's other options,
Yeah.
and play around with things. So let's see. We have another fan here saying, "Thank you, Dr. Shauna, for helping this newbie better understand the way function." That was from Kyra. Isn't that
That's
sweet?
great. That's
Yes.
what we were after here, is being able to explain to a new person in a way that you could not only understand, but so that you could explain it to someone else in a really simple fashion. And I think that's one of the reasons that I've had a lot of patients and a lot of people come, is because I try to bring things down to a lower common denominator. I'm not real big on throwing around a lot of words that people don't really understand. I would rather have people understand me, I think, and all in all, that kind of works out better when you work with somebody's health. So
Great. Okay, here's another fan. I have to read these. I want you to hear these. This is from Teresa. She says, "I have loved hearing you each and every call that you've been on. These calls have always been my very favorite and always the first call I invite others to hear. You're amazing and we'll look forward to, I hope, your frequent visits." That was from Teresa.
thanks, Teresa. That's all.
Okay, here's a question from Wendy. She says, "I've been using X39 over a year and the physical body has come a long way. Now I'm hoping the brain repair will start kicking in. I've been using the brain protocol. What do you, would you do that every day? And do you have any other suggestions?"
I don't know exactly what your situation is, but the brain protocol is really good for concentration and for recovery from those kinds of things. But there's also, I think there's a lot of benefit to using the silent nights as well with that, because I think that the extra melatonin is really helpful when your body is fully cycling your own melatonin, which works very different from synthetic. That creates a lot of neurological healing. Also, the Nirvana, I think, is really interesting. They're using the Nirvana a lot for Nirvana. Technically, was kind of a mood thing, but the way it works, it's also really helpful in chronic pain and in neurological recovery.
Great. Oh my gosh, there's a whole bunch more new messages.
Okay.
I'm going to look through fantastic information and useful video to listen and watch again. Thank you very much from Ravel. Mary is asking, do you have any suggestions for organs that are failing, like in prolapse for women or protruding situations in men?
Mm. Again, I'm going to rely back on the X39 for that. If there is pain related, then there are pain patches. But just for in general healing, I think that the X39 is your best bet, because it's going to do what needs to be done. A lot of people have had those situations where they had nets implanted in their body and all kinds of things like that. And as it turns out, that's not the best way to do the repair. And they actually wound up inadvertently causing a lot of damage to people because that wasn't the best way to fix it. So I would rather rely on your body's wisdom, that innate, gorgeous wisdom that your body has, to fix something in the way that it should be fixed. So I'm still always going to fall back on the X39 for anything that is more esoteric like that. I think that you want to make sure that you're not over relying on the patches, that, the X39 is doing wonderful things, but your body is still your body. You still have to eat the right food. You still have to drink enough water. You still have to get some exercise. You still have to take care of yourself, and you still have to make sure that you're keeping up with whoever your healthcare person is, to make sure that you're doing the best things for yourself. And the patches are fabulous. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love them, but you just make sure that it's part of what you're doing, and you're not expecting it to be all of what you're doing. And David Schmidt says that all the time too.
That's great. And Wendy is recovering from a TBI from an accident. So
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Then definitely the brain balance protocol every day would be great.
And for people that don't know, it's putting patches in a hat
Yep.
and wearing the hat. Doesn't even need, oh, don't I look cute? Doesn't even need to touch your head. So I want to share something from Dr. Lou because it was really wonderful. She said she's had vision improvement is quite amazing. Looking younger, lost 10 pounds, biking daily without stop even one day since June of 2020. Sleeping with Eon and Silent Night solid. Ice wave relieves pain with the lower back. Burn wound, no blister the next day. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the
Thank
glutathione will do that one for sure.
Thank you, Dr. Lou. So I'm going to close here because we have, because I just want to appreciate Dr. Shauna a little bit more. And she said, Wendy said, you're so amazing. I always learn so much when you're on. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. And Anheuser said, your lovely colorful clock makes you look like stained glass.
Oh, yeah.
A stained glass angel is what she said. Yes.
Oh, look, I do have a little crown on.
You're actually positioned perfectly.
I didn't even notice that.
Stained glass angel. I love it. And Kara says, Dr. Shauna, thank you for all of your support and taking your valuable time to educate us. I've learned so much from what you've shared over the past year, and I'm very grateful to you. Darlene says, Dr. Shauna, thank you so much for all the time you've given us on these great calls. You make it so easy for everyone to understand. We really appreciate you.
Well, I got to tell you guys, it's been fun listening to your stories. It's an honor to hear all of the wonderful things that you guys are experiencing, and it's really helped me in my practice and to learn, because a lot of times somebody will come in and say something to me, and that they're dealing with, and I'm like, oh yeah, we talked about that on the Tuesday night call, and that really helped. And I got to say, it's been terrible working with Robin. It's so hard, you guys. You can't imagine how hard it is working with this woman. it's it's given me an opportunity to spend more time with someone that I absolutely love and adore. So that has been wonderful. But I've learned a lot, and I am really glad that you guys found benefit in my sort of easy speak that I like to do with people's. I wrote in my first book, a lot of people said, well, you should have been more technical, you should have sounded more like a doctor, you should have done this, you should have done that. And it's just not my style. I like talking to you guys, and I like everybody being able to understand what I'm saying. And I really like that you can turn around and tell it someone else. So thank you for being so wonderful. And thank you for always being here and lighting up our Tuesday nights. And Robin is always, how I feel about you. So you guys be great. We got some stuff to do. We got new doctors coming on. We got all kinds of things, but I'm here. So this is not the last time you guys will have to put up with me. So
yeah. So would you give people your office phone number if they want to call for a consult?
Absolutely. And be sure and tell them that it's a Lifewave appointment, because that's a heavily discounted appointment. And that can be for you to talk about you, or to talk about one of your patients, or we can even do a 3-way coffee, or whatever it is, a half an hour, and it's your appointment. So, but it does need to be about Lifewave. But my phone number in my office is area code 208-261-3341. And that's the best way to reach me. Now, incidentally, just while we're talking about this here, I do not use Messenger. So I get a lot of things that I can see inquiries, but I can't tell what they are because I don't use Messenger because of all the viruses. So kind of funny, I'm the doctor. I'm not worried about a lot of viruses, but I do hate the ones that come from the computer. So so I do it to that. But if anybody needs to reach me, we're open, 6 days a week. So just give me a call.
Okay, well, thank you. So just to finish up here, your wisdom and heart is much appreciated. Thanks you both. I look forward to this call. Applause, applause, applause. Thank you. And it has been truly a privilege and an honor to share this time with you on Tuesdays for so long and get to know you and work with you. And I'm really, really blessed. really blessed. So, and thank you all. If you're a guest on the call, please get back to the person who invited you. We have a really wonderful customer program, and we also have a wonderful program for those of you that like to share. It's a very lucrative program that compensates you beautifully. We need your voices. This is the kind of product that can't sit on a shelf. It needs your stories, it needs your voices, and please do share. We do have a special going on right now, and it's something that's very timely for the holiday season. It's something that helps you with your sugar cravings. And there's a special where you can get 2 X39 and 1 free of the SP6, which will help with cravings. It's also been known to really help women who are dealing with some of the menopausal challenges of hot flashes and night sweats and things. So, and hormonal headaches. But I am so grateful to be with all of you. And thank you so much, Dr. Shauna. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you everyone who's been with us this evening. We couldn't get to everything because we've stayed way longer than usual, and blessings to all. And let's see.
Oh, that's right, holidays.
Have a wonderful holiday season and this interesting, challenging time. Take really good care. Remember, sugar lowers your immune system. We all need strong immune systems more than anything right now. Okay, so blessings, everyone. Thank you.